junglers. They've guaranteed themselves a bot lane that is extremely strong, fairly safe, and has a lot of versatility, and I think that CoreJJ is one of the best Tahm Kenches at the tournament. So it feels like to me that you talked about their mental fortitude. Coming into today, they're like, you know what? Forget trying to play everyone else's style. Forget trying to do something that we can't do. Let's just stick to what we're good at. And so far, they've got a draft that enables them.
And Vedius, just to put some numbers to it, Sejuani for Xmithy, 4 games played this year. 3 of them win, 75% win ratio. Tahm Kench, CoreJJ, 10 games played. 7 of them win, 70% win ratio. We're into phase 2. Impact will lose one of his high impact top laners in Gangplank.
Really?
Kalista is banned away. You're not meant to pick those ones up, young Day. And Spawn, what direction are we going to look to for the rest of these bans? Obviously, solo laners being the big ones that TL are going to lose access to.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see if they get rid of another champion like an Aatrox that Impact has played. I feel like they want to force him onto the cannon. I feel like this is a Zeros Rise pick into the top lane. You know, look for that counter, look to play through top lane pick. In saying that, I do like what you're mentioning about the Sejuani, because one criticism we've often had about junglers is that they struggle to get in on Galio, at least early, because of the CC setup that it has. With Tahm Kench, they can kind of walk him down a little bit more, a lot of slows. So I think that there are areas to attack in this bottom lane. That would be the bravest blind pick, I think, of MSI.
Just a very nice cheeky hover there from Double F. My expectations right now are that they just grab themselves the cat. He locks it in before I get to sound clever. You already talked about it, Spawn. Expectations were that he would go towards the cannon.
Yep.
As Zeros up towards the top side, we're expecting the rise into that matchup. But a part of me just feels like Zeros wants a little bit more of a carry champion. So I still feel like Phong haven't quite locked in their top lane yet.
Well, let's see. They've got a couple seconds left to figure it out, with Big Koro having Kalista and Kai'Sa banned against him in phase 2. He's going to dig down the 80 carry pool ever so slightly. Has already played the Xayah, the Lucian this tournament, and will now add Ezreal to the pool as well.
Yeah, and I said that they're going to look for a safe bottom lane, right? They're going to look to play around the top side of the map. This draft currently screams it at me. So hard to dive both of these champions. Once again, control pushing mid lane.
Yep.
Finally, this is what Phong Buffalo were known domestically for. I'm excited, especially with Galio Ultimate. They can get multiple members towards the top side of the map.
What makes me happy about this from Phong Buffalo is that, do you remember their Flash Rolls game where they had a strong early lead and then it just evolved into team fight, team fight, team fight? Well, this is a great team fight team.
Yep.
You do have the ability to play the 1-4, but Jarvan going in, Galio following up, Shockwave, Ezreal ulti, everything is just speaking wombo combo, which is exactly how Phong have played a lot of their games so far.
North American fans and Team Liquid supporters, be a little nervous. Knowles Oriana went 5-0-15 against G2 Esports in their one and only win here on the group stages of the main event. Jensen will be running the LeBlanc into it. So pick and ban went stylistically as we were anticipating. Spawn or Vedius, what do you expect from the opening minutes of this game?
Well, just before we get into that, I want to quickly talk about this LeBlanc pink, because North American fans probably saw that Syndra Hudva and thought, ooh, this is really good. This is one of Jensen's picks. This is something that he has found a lot of success with domestically. Unfortunately, going up against a Jarvan, he doesn't want to run that risk. He wants something with a little bit more mobility, and honestly, gank setup. It can setup work well with the Sejuani early on, and it can roam towards the bot side of the map and has a little bit more versatility while still offering value in team fights. So I do quite like that adaptation and pivot, and it's also a champion that he is very experienced on and familiar with.
Especially given how the games for Team Liquid went yesterday, the constant group, the constant look for the fight. I think that this is a little bit more of a crafty comp with a LeBlanc playing towards the side lane with the Tahm Kench. I'd like to see them slow down, be a little bit more methodical about their playstyle, and not necessarily ram heads here.
Well, both of these teams are fighting for a shot in the semi-finals. As we've alluded to several times already, Phong Buffalo 1 win, 5 losses. Team Liquid 2 wins, 4 losses. Nothing is guaranteed after this result. If you were Team Liquid and you were to be in the 2-5 bucket with both Flash Rolls and PVB, it would be terrifying. And welcome back, Phong Buffalo, champions of the VCS, taking on the North American LCS champions, Team Liquid. And as you mentioned already, Vedius, you're looking at some, a good lane to gank around. Xmithy's going to have options with both Kennen and LeBlanc as and when he decides to engage. You can see Smithy already being kind of spotted up by Meliodas.
So we're looking at the runes, we're looking at some of the summoner spells that have been taken. You'll notice that the cleanse is sitting on the Orianna. Just in the same way that we talked about Syndra is a low mobility champion, Orianna is the same way. If a Sejuani ult lands on top of her, then she's in a lot of danger. So by taking the cleanse, it provides an extra bit of safety and is a very intelligent summoner spell to pick up against this particular comp.
Yeah, you can see Core JJ grabs himself a Guardian this time around, not going to go with an Aftershock time Kench. But the impact going with Spellbook, once again, is one of those interesting rune choices. Because generally, you run a lane-dominant rune. Either something like a Klepto if you feel like you're going to win the lane heavily, or an Airy if you feel like you need to have the extra damage with things like Scorch in your build. Going with the Spellbook hints to me that Impact thinks this is the survive lane, and Comet being run on the rise, I would expect this lane to be heavily in Xeros's favor.
Well, I often feel that because of the short range of Kennen, it can be very difficult for him to trade with the Rise, because every time he approaches, you're just going to get Rune Prison combo down and then force back. So to me, this suggests that he might be looking for an Ignite swap, perhaps after his first teleport back into the lane, and then he can look for a potential kill with Xmithy. And you can already see early on, Rise is commonly taking that W, early damage, early setup, and Impact is just being completely zoned away from the lane.
I also wonder if the Summoner Spellbook and Impact and Team Liquid style also benefits them when they are stronger in the later stages of the game. Playing a little bit more in control, a little bit more at arm's reach really of their opponents. And Impact right now being pushed in. As we take a look at the middle lane, Knowles going to send that command attack forward, trading onto Jensen. And I think Scuttle Crabs have been traded. Yes, top half has gone the way of Team Liquid, bottom half the way of Meliodas. And Meliodas now making his way to the blue buff. While all that's going on, Big Koro and Pallet, they are pushing in very heavily into this bottom lane. Double it already chunked down to about 60% HP.
Yeah, and this is a thing about Ezreal as well as Galio. AoE onto the wave, not to mention the fact that Ezreal just continues to build up attack speed. However, already top lane being set up for that gank, that early volatility.
Oh, Dragon Strike off to the Demacian Standard, and that was just Meliodas at his best. Vietnam erupts.
And this is where he found success with when they played up against G2 yesterday. The high aggressive playstyle, the constantly looking for ganks, is where Phong Vu Buffalo often find those early leads, and already they're looking to shut down Impact.
And it was just very telegraphed. So I love the fact that Phong Vu have picked the side of the map this time around, and they've said, you know what, this is where the action happens. The early, heavy trades come out, the immediate path towards topside. That Scuttlecrab gives such a false sense of security because you can skirt the vision and not be seen just like that. So I really love the fact that Phong Vu have now just played completely towards their strength.
Thank you so much to the observers for actually highlighting the point flawlessly there, Spawn, that you were making. And this is a replay of Meliodas just coming in. And honestly, when you've got a guaranteed target for the flag and drag, it's really easy to step back, get the kill, and just walk away bragging.
Beautiful breakdown there, Quick Shot. I feel like you've done these replays before.
Look, when you've seen a Meliodas gank once or twice,
you've seen
it all.
In
4 minutes, you've pretty much seen them all.
But look at the positioning of Meliodas right now, taking away the Krogs, hanging around the top side as TL look for play in mid.
All right, that's at least the cleanse used earlier, just like you talked about. Vedius are going to allow Null to escape with his life for now. While that's going on, Xmithy starts to recall down in the river, and there is a control wall that's been placed up in the top, so Impact will get a little bit extra heads up next time Meliodas attempts.
Just want to give props to Nord here. Notice how the farm is even when there is still a massive wave working toward Nord's tower. So he's actually been playing this early laning phase extremely well. He's been trading very aggressively up against Jensen, and while many consider LeBlanc to be this early lane dominant champion, the thing about Orianna is once you get the Q and the W points, you actually have a lot of extra damage in your autos as well, so you can bully around this LeBlanc up until around level 6, and that's when you need to start being careful.
In saying that, Vedi, they have set up the gank at level 6 because they've already burnt the cleanse. You know, one more chain landing there with a level 6 on the LeBlanc or on the Sejuani. That's a very easy gank. So Team Liquid's also done their homework. They've invested in the right area. But unlike the top lane gank, this one just pays off in a couple of levels.
Yeah, exactly. It's more about getting that interest to come through and then claiming on the interest. But what I do like is both teams committing to their respective strategies and both teams thus far trading evenly. It's a 500 goal lead for Phong Vu Buffalo thanks to First Blood. But CS is about as even as it is going to be at this stage of the game. And this time around, after that early pressure in bot lane, Double Lift and Core JJ got a few levels under their belt. They've shoved this wave back, and you can see 42 CS to 40 as far as the ADCs are concerned, and neither has backed yet, both sitting with teleports.
Probably important to point out, Klepto is also going to have some added advantages there for the Ezreal. Once again, both lanes just looking to scale up. It is a risky strategy against Team Liquid because we came into this competition and we thought that their bottom lane was going to be pretty dominant, given the fact that it is Double Lift paired with a world champion. Potential gank now.
All right, Meliodas once again. I'm looking for the flag and drag. The taunt comes in. That holds Core JJ in place. The Devour Spit does come out, but Summoner Flash blown by Core JJ.
Oh.
What was that damage? Piercing arrow, as well as the tongue lash, and that just absolutely obliterates pallets.
And Phong Fu Buffalo were not expecting that.
Nor was I.
Double Lift finds himself a counter kill by Mac putting all those points in the queue. The early damage, something you have to respect, and this is why so many people praise Core J's Tom Kench, that extra survivability that it provides to the duo of Double Lift as a play now being set up towards the top.
There is no flash on Zeros. Slicing Maelstrom's available for impact. He's got flash up, throws down the stun, throws down the ulti. Smithy's busy tanking up the tower, but there's no follow-up. Jensen wasn't there. Impact's now dropped low. It's a little bit sketchy, but it will finish clean as Jensen secures the kill.
So I will say that the execution there was a little all over the shop. It felt like that Jensen was kind of moving back the moment the Impact ulted in. Ultimately, though, Team Liquid, they find themselves the kill. They put Zeros behind. He doesn't have the teleport, just as a massive minion wave was bouncing into his tower. And you get a kill onto your LeBlanc. So Team Liquid, very happy right now. Kill in mid, kill in bot. Kind of game plan going the way that they want.
Yeah, and that's the more important angle than the execution, is that the proactivity around the map, you know, unlocking Jensen, getting him out of this. Let's take another look at this, break it down. Core JJ burns the early summoner spell and is willing to keep his Double Lift with everything available. That means Double Lift can play very aggressive. That's going to be 3 Blight blocks plus the W utilized on that Q, and a lot of damage done there, Vetty.
Yeah, just a bit. Excellently played there by the bot lane of Team Liquid, and now the gold has been equalized. So even though Meliodas find that first blood up towards the top side of the map, they haven't really found many other opportunities outside of that one.
And even though Noel wasn't the recipient of that gank in the mid lane while his cleanse was down, Smithy and Jensen moving top to get, into Zeros' face, who had been the, tip of the spear as far as the PVB strategy was concerned. You cannot fault the decision making. Plus 10 CS. TP is, 25% away from cooldown. And right now, Noel and Meliodas, they looked at Jensen, won't catch him.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, is that Noel can't follow. You can't follow a LeBlanc Sejuani into Fog of War. So they try and cheat up there with Pallet. However, after the bottom lane gank, he wasn't going to be able to make it in time. So you kind of win 2 areas of the map simultaneously because of how poorly that bottom lane gank went. Now, idea was great, but I just feel like this is Meliodas maybe being a little bit over-aggressive in the early game, because I don't feel like he needs to win.
Oh, good trade here from Jensen. He's run out of mana, though, so he can't follow up after. Did end up using his ulti as well, and there was support. But yes, as you mentioned, just really, it is good play, proactive here from Team Liquid. If they pick up the win here, they will have a clear separation from 4th, 5th, and 6th. Flash Wolves, 2 wins, 5 losses. Team Liquid do not want to be sitting toe-to-toe with them.
So I just kind of want to bounce off your point there, Spawn, because I do agree that I feel that for Meliodas, his prerogative should be to just invest resources into the 2 solo lanes,
yep.
Right? Noel already has a big pressure advantage, and we already see him roam a little bit with Noel, and while that's not optimal on an Orianna, it does give you options to move into the enemy jungle, spot out where Smithy is, and limit any of his early game playmaking. But more importantly, try and get Zeros ahead. This guy is one of the big carries of your team. He's on the champion like Rise. Not only is this a strong split pusher, but he can actually be very impactful in these team fights as well. Imagine him locking down the LeBlanc to then allow the rest of his team to burst her down.
Or better yet, just keeping the cannon in a side lane. So there's no splicing Maelstrom for the entirety of the team fight to worry about. Can be that double-edged attack from the PVB lineup. The more options you have in League of Legends, the more ways that you can look to close out these games. And at the moment, it feels like a lot of the ways that PVB unlock these options is by getting the guy on your screen ahead.
Well, let's see whether or not Meliodas can. 1-0. 56 creep score under his belt. Noel has farmed up around a 15 or 16 CS advantage. And Meliodas, instead of going for the solo lane as gentleman, he's decided to invest some time in the bottom lane. I do recall, though, Spawn, you telling me at one point that PVB did have a bit of a timing strategy and how they like to, gank bottom lane or look for dragon plays. The gank came in earlier, didn't work in their favor. and it was Xmitty that secured the Dragon thanks to the kill. So PVB not investing Meliodas' time in a way that you would be proud of.
Yeah, and I mean, this now just makes this bottom lane incredibly hard. When you have sustain as well as push pressure on a Varus and the safety of a Tahm Kench behind you, coupled with an Ocean Dragon, you just feel like you're under siege at every point of the bottom laning phase, and you can see that Meliodas goes down there, tries to relieve some of that pressure, but ultimately comes up empty-handed.
Yeah, and Meliodas right now in this early game has only found that successful gank up towards the top side of the map. He has just gone back to base and is working towards that Cinderhulk build, so going for more of the front line alongside the Galio, very much working towards that dive composition that we talked about. But ultimately, we still got to remember that for Phong Vu Buffalo, their composition is very much about team fighting, so them not being ahead in the early game is not a bad thing, because they are still ramping up. Around the 2 items is when you'll start to see this composition really be at its strongest.
Absolutely, and both of these team comps, as they move into the later stages of the game, have huge scaling threats. I mean, you're looking at things like Orianna, Ryze, Ezreal versus Varus, who, if he can stand and deliver, is one of the highest damage champions, especially with the Ginsu's build coming in. Also very safe with things like the Tahm Kench, like the Sejuani for PL. So I feel like the pace of the game isn't going to really bother either of the teams. Just interesting to see how they, jockey for that position early on in this match.
So which team do you have more faith in their mid game? We're transitioning, we're 12 minutes in. Yep. We've seen the comps go pretty much even as Xmitty is now starting off the Rift Herald. And if you look at the map, pressure in the top lane, a recall from Null means there should be Team Liquid. So over the next 10 or so minutes, who do you favor?
So it's fascinating that you mentioned that, Quick Shot, because one of my biggest criticisms of Team Liquid coming into the tournament was their mid-game. But at the same time, where Phong Vu Buffalo have thrown a lot of their leads is the mid-game. And while Team Liquid try to make mistakes in terms of their ability to be proactive, sometimes Doublelift is a little bit out of position, Phong Vu just try to force plays that they're not in a position to make. So as long as Team Liquid, which they often are in a position to just receive the pressure, punish, and then convert into an advantage, I would give the edge over to Liquid as we move into the mid-game.
Is it fair to say that's pretty much how the play-ins knockouts BO5 played out, and that was exactly what Team Liquid did to win the series 3-0, and with an average game time of under 30 minutes? Jensen's going to be doing some wave clear here, a little bit of pressure from Null, but nothing to really worry about. And yeah, as you say, this is just kind of what we've come to expect from TL versus PVB, considering we've seen them play now 5 times in the last week.
However, what I will say is that swap into Rift Herald is a proactive play. The dive on top lane was a proactive play. So whilst we've seen the great punishes in the bottom lane, this is TL trying to add more strings to their bow, and I think that is making them a better shaped around team. The roams are hurting them. They're down in mid lane CS. They're starting to lose turret plating. But as long as Jensen is having an impact, I feel like this is an area where you can start playing yourself into the MSI game.
I mean, it is a little surprising because I remember game 1 when they played up against each other and we had something like 30 kills in 28 minutes. Yep. And we've definitely moved away from that style, but I remember DeFisher saying early on that he hates seeing Phong Vu Buffalo play slow. And it's often because they don't really know how to utilize this slow game plan. And for Team Liquid, this is the best case scenario for them to be in. We already talked about it in draft. We talked about how they've kind of returned to their style, returned to comfort, and so far, things are going exactly to plan.
I mean, really nicely done. Just before those turret plates fall, the Rift Herald is used in the bottom lane, gets at least 2 or 3 here. Taking good items, you've got Luden's Echo now on Jensen. He's going up into some thrift shopping from Null, as now Xmitty's making his way up. Those big items are starting to come in. Protobelt for impact. That's a very nice dodge from Jensen. Gets all the way out, goes all the way back in. Glacial Prison comes down, and the Shockwave's not going to do a whole lot. The chains will root in Meliodas. That's a distortion. Jensen's looking to try to get more burst damage down, but he doesn't have it yet. And the Golden Aegis will help out Meliodas, but tower first blood secured by Team Liquid after the Herald down the bottom lane.
I love watching that exchange because no one did damage to anyone.
Yep.
Both mages were trying to hit the tanky junglers, and so no one ended up coming out on top. Everyone just ended up walking away, but that also meant that there was no pressure being applied towards the bot side of the map, which freely allowed Doublelift and Core JJ to secure that tower. So much gold has been invested into the carry of Team Liquid, where Doublelift is now 1,000 gold up on his lane counterpart.
Yeah, now I want to see what they do with him, right? Do they park him mid lane? Is this a 1-3-1? Then where they're going to send Jensen into the longer lane? That's where Orianna starts to struggle. Do they look to play a little bit more with impact with that spellbook in the long lane and, maybe send Core JJ and Doublelift top and still allow the kill threat for Jensen and Smithy to exist? Because, we keep talking about it, but when you're playing this proactively, when it looks like PVB are the ones playing on the back foot, TL just dictate everything at this stage.
And that's going to be perfectly completely fine for Team Liquid and North America. They're very, very content after 15 minutes to be at this even footing, knowing that it has been TL after conceding the first kill that have made all the plays. 2 dragons to their name, both of them Ocean Drakes as well, going to be so valuable over the next, 10 or so minutes. Doublelift has got that Blade of the Ruined King, got himself those Berserker's Greaves, and now can just park off in that middle lane to defend that tower and unlock Impact and Jensen in those side lanes if they so desire.
And you just saw Big Koro expend his teleport to get top lane. Jensen looks aggressively onto him. This is a race against time. Who can come up with a kill earlier? Jarvan plus Orianna or the LeBlanc in the top lane? It's going to be very difficult for Big Koro to fend off Jensen, I feel.
Lane assignments are a bit all over the place, but here we are, collapse on the Team Liquid.
All right, Zeros is going to use that Realm Warp. True Shot Barrage comes down. Corja's is already flashed. He's still got Summon a heal. Pallet goes in with the ultimate. He's under the tower in a 4-on-2. Corja's escapes. Here comes Impact. Flashes forward. Instantly gets rooted and stunned down. That was a Maelstrom that did nothing at all. Jensen's waiting in the wings, though. He's distorted over. Flash forward. Beautiful stopwatch from Pallet. That will keep him alive. But now the tower is under pressure. And in what ends up being a lot of spells invested, nobody dies. The tower is at risk of crumbling, though, and this will be the second of the game. Now, Null, he steps far too far forward, uses the cleanse and the flash. It is not enough. Piercing arrow from Doublelift picks up the kill. A little bit of a comedy of errors there. Team Liquid come out on top.
And while it was Phong Buffalo that tried to force the fight, it is Team Liquid that walk away as the victors. They secure themselves the mid-tier 1. Doublelift picks himself up another kill, and is simply a matter of Team Liquid doing what they did in the play-ins, doing what they did in the first round of groups. Sit and wait and look to punish the Buffalo.
It looked way better this time, though, when the Doublelift and Corja's got jumped on by everything, and they didn't panic, they just walked away effectively.
And this is the thing, right? As we get ready to check out a cool snipe again, in the race against time, you're never going to bet against PVB. They're just willing to pull the trigger. But as you mentioned, the absorption this time around, the comfort of something like the Tom 10, just looks like Liquid were prepared for this style of game, and they have been able to eke out those small advantages that are turning into that big snowball.
It certainly is, and I loved, as you mentioned, Quickshot, the patient play from the side of Team Liquid. They knew they had the teleport advantage because they just watched Big Koro TP up towards the top side. They had Impact join the fight, and while he couldn't quite land that Maelstrom, he got enough poke and chip damage to force Phong Buffalo out of the fight, which then allowed Team Liquid to say, you know what, we have a numbers advantage. We have a flanking LeBlanc coming in. We can zone them off the tower. At the very least, we can trade a kill for a tower. But then they knew they could go for more, and they never overstepped their bounds. They just played within their limits, and are now escalating that gold lead to 1K.
Oh man, Team Liquid, they're just getting more and more comfortable, 1,000 gold like you mentioned, 2 items coming in across the board, but every single thing PVB have done, Team Liquid had an answer for. And, I want to commend the growth that we've seen here from Team Liquid, but as a viewer, I'm a little disappointed. I always like the high-tempo PvP games. I think it's where they shine a lot. And now Zeros is going to get stunned up. You cannot escape the Realm Warp when somebody with CC's in your face. And he just concedes another death. This is just all TL, and it feels like it has been for 15 minutes.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, the opening play was in PvP's favor,
Yes.
but since then, they've not been really able to find anything they're looking for. And it's not like they don't have the tools. They have the hard force. They have the Orianna that they're able to beat G2 out. This is a composition that they can play fast with, but never had the control that you need to go for those aggressive plays.
Now you can see Team Liquid moving towards the bot side of the map, slowly pushing their vision in deeper and deeper. Phong Buffalo looking for a potential fight, but I don't know if they have the confidence to go for the all-in just yet.
There's no Glacial Prison from McSmithy. He used that onto Zeros earlier. Here comes the flag and drag. Nobody's knocked into the air. Doublelift is still just sitting on 1.5 items, whereas Big Koro, he's got himself that man immune. He's got the Iceborne Gauntlet. I think Dragon has just about come up, 10 seconds to go. So Team Liquid going to back away. They push some vision in, it's already being cleared. Maybe set up for the Drake.
And whilst you're technically correct that Big Koro's items are 2 items, I kind of feel until the transform comes out from the Man Immune that it's not really a full item just yet. He's still sitting in a little bit of the trough. The 2 items fight, not what it is until it's able to transform. And because Doublelift's items are just outright, more expensive, not a cause for concern. I talked about this a lot with the Kai'Sa versus the Ezreal, but certainly true for the Varus matchup. Varus is in a situation where he's completely happy. Now with the big objective We'll see whether Fongvu try and contest this or just back away.
I don't think they need to risk their lives over a Cloud Drake. There are 5 members, all full health. A lot of ultimates are still available for Team Liquid, and I think it would have been a dangerous situation for Fongvu to play into. The thing you're now looking at for Fongvu is their ability to team fight later on into the game. They still have the big wombo combo. They're still scaling aspects that they have as a part of their composition. It's just a matter of, will they ever actually pull the trigger? Because so far, Team Liquid have done a good job of slowly starving their opposition out. They're staying as a 5-man unit whenever Fongvu could potentially look for a team fight. And I just love the fact that Team Liquid, they're not trying to do something that they've showcased they haven't been great at before. They're not trying to play on multiple lanes. They're just saying, you know what? Let's work together. Let's just play through 2 lanes. Let's just move through the enemy jungle. And we know we can continue to punish the opposition.
And the thing is, that actually makes me a little bit nervous as well, because yes, while Team Liquid have had all the answers thus far, it is only 1,500 gold difference. Flash taken here from Big Koro as Jensen jumps all the way in. Looking at the minimap, there's more support from Team Liquid coming up. Pallet is in trouble. He may need to use that ultimate to escape. Teleport's coming down. In behind Big Koro. Pallet's already gone down. Big Koro's able to escape away from the chain of corruption. And that's 2 quick kills for Team Liquid. Baron is alive as well if they really wanted to force it. But what direction do they go? Null gets jumped on. This time the slicing maelstrom will take him down. Null below 60% HP. Continues to get chunked out. The shurikens and the autos coming out. Jensen steps forward. KS Impact yells. Chains will not lock down Meliodas, with the rest of Team Liquid peel back for Baron.
Beautiful play out of the Team Liquid lineup, utilizing this 1-3-1, attacking the side lane. Impact gets to the play. This is a different squad than what we saw yesterday against the Flash Wolves.
And once again, you're seeing why CoreJJ is so good at the time. Kench utilizes the ultimate to cut off the escape route of both Big Koro and Pallet. Means that Fongvu Buffalo is split up across the map. Once again, they failed to find any form of 5v5 fight, and Team Liquid now sitting with the Baron 22 minutes in, looking like a convincing control up against Fongvu Buffalo.
And it feels so bad because I was literally just about to say that in a mostly even footing, in a big 5v5, you know, I'm a little nervous for Team Liquid, because in a straight up 5v5 with no gold advantage, PVB can win team fights, but now they're down 4,000 gold, they're down Baron. Team Liquid already have a comp that can play multiple lanes, so now it starts to get incredibly difficult, and it all starts from this catch by Jensen and Smith.
And what you have to concentrate on is the ability for the Tahm Kench and the Varus to make their way to the play before Orianna can even start moving. So even though this looks like a 2v2, it is a 4v2 in reality. Meliodas can't join here. There's nothing he can do. TL just have the numbers.
Honestly, it's just a massive mistake from PVB. They're pushing in a lane with no tower. The top laner doesn't have teleport. The Orianna can't convert. And as you rightly said, there's no way for the jungler to join. So good awareness from Team Liquid, knowing which lane they can attack. And it's on the Baron side of the map. So even if they don't find those kills, they can just force the Baron anyway, because the Ryze can't join the fray.
And this seems to be the problem with Ryze. When he's in the situation where he finally is starting to win the 1v1 split push, his team's just getting caught out of position. This is shades of what we saw in TL versus Flash Wolves yesterday, when it was actually Impact saying, hey guys, I can win the game in the split. This time they just go.
Well, take a look at this. Realm Warp into Torn. CoreJJ once again with all of his summoners. He keeps Double Lift alive. Impact's come in from behind. Spellsize and Maelstrom's not available just yet. That's a 5-man stack. There's the cannon ultimate. Impact goes golden. And he set Team Liquid up despite the 3-man shockwave. It's too little. It's too late. Double Lift turns onto Big Koro. Here comes Jensen. Koro is down. Null is running for his life, and Team Liquid, they get jumped on, but they finish the fight.
Desperation takes over Fongvu Buffalo as they go for a last-ditch fight, but unfortunately they cannot pull it off. CoreJJ with the beautiful execution keeps his AD carry alive, and Team Liquid look for revenge as they shut down Fongvu Buffalo and look for a 5-0 record over the opposition.
And you can see why the priority on the Tahm Kench ban has been there the entire time against Team Liquid. CoreJJ looks like a different player on the Toad in the bottom lane. Such an impressive performance. Every time there's a fight, he's just saving someone.
Wow, that catfish spawn is definitely helping Team Liquid. And you know what?
Call him a toad.
I know. I just read it's really salty about it right now. Shout outs to you guys. We know it's a catfish. We're doing this to troll you. But, I mean, when you take a look at team fights like this and you can see how the Kench is unbenched, 2v3, 2v4, and just zero panic from CoreJJ.
I mean, honestly, like, if you're ever going to pick a fight, that's the best time to do it. Jensen is top side of the map with no teleport. and there are only 2 members sitting in mid, so they think that they can go for it. So they go for the commitment. Unfortunately, they can't get it. Initially, this actually looked pretty good with the Shockwave, but unfortunately, with no front line left to play around and the 2 carriers being collapsed on by the 4 members of Team Liquid, there's very little that Phong Fu Buffalo can do following up from the Shockwave.
And it's also just about positioning as well. If you don't have a front line standing on your side of the map, what are you retreating back to? What does your line of fire look like? And you can see that the champions of TL are just better, especially in the case of LeBlanc, of being able to traverse over terrain, being useless and play that harrying game. So it was a optimistic fight. I feel like Phong Fu probably had to pull the trigger eventually against this comp, but now the bleed out, you know, especially without the flashes available, just continues.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the gold lead extends 6,000 gold, 6 towers to 1. While this is going on, by the way, there's an engage in the bottom lane and the top lane. Zeros goes forward, but there's not enough support yet. Finally, Pallet arrives. While that's going on, Big Koro's taking out in the top lane. Chain of Corruption starts to spread. Pallet's going to get locked down as the Cataclysm comes out. Zeros will fall after. It's a double kill for double lift as Jensen picks up a 3rd. Impact got 1 in the top. Jensen's able to get away from the Shockwave, and Null is the last man standing. 26 minutes into the game, and Team Liquid are looking at the Nexus.
Yeah, they're going to push to win. You can see how safe double lift is. Impact grabs himself a solo kill as well, and TL will pick up the win.
Absolutely beautiful game from Team Liquid. Null will get locked down, run down, shut down. It's an ace for Team Liquid. They will pick up their 3rd win of the MSI group stage, and for now, Team Liquid takes sole control of 4th place.
Beautiful stuff from the side of Team Liquid. Expectations were that they would be the heavy favorites. They've already beaten this team 4 times. They now round that up to 5. And as we said at the beginning of the cast, it felt like that every time Team Liquid play against the same team, they only get better and better. And coming into this game, it was very clearly, we're going to play our style, we're going to play our way, forget the flex picks, we don't care about them, we just want what we're good at, and they demonstrated why they're so good at it.
And I like the fact that they were so active on the map early, you know, getting into the top lane, helping Impact out. They seemed like a team that was very aware of what the game plan was going to be. They were able to have that counter pick. And it just shows that on their best champions, with things like Varus, Tahm, bottom lane, they are still a force to be reckoned with. That's a 26-minute, very clean victory against a lineup that was starting to ramp into MSI, so North American fans should take hope.
I completely agree, and I also think when you look at the standings and where these teams find themselves, 3 wins, 4 losses. Right behind Team Liquid is Flash Rules, 2 wins, 5 losses, and now PVB at 1 and 6. We will hear from Double Lift in just a little while, but first let's take a look at some of the moments from Team Liquid's win. I mean, when I think about this game as a whole, outside of Meliodas getting, you know, first blood in the top lane, I feel like it's mostly flawless from Team Liquid. They seem to have answers for everything that PVB threw at them, and they were also proactive in pushing their advantages.
Yeah, whether it was Tahm being utilized to attack a side lane or to buy the precious seconds before the counter-attack could arrive, looked like TL had control.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to be critical of any part of Team Liquid's play, really. They secured a Baron at, what, 21, 22 minutes? They ended the game in 27 minutes. Like, Team Liquid had an extremely clean game, and they just goes to show that this team can be proactive, and this was the best play of the whole game for me from Team Liquid, because they just had so much awareness of all of the positional mistakes from the side of Phong Fu Buffalo, and they knew how much of an advantage they could gain off the back of it.
They were on the map first, they had the correct vision set up, they had the timers of whether Zeros could join. That's a play of seconds, could go either way. And then Impact's confidence for a couple of times in this game to look for the one-on-ones also is a great sign that this is a team that is feeling themselves coming into the final couple of days.
Definitely the case, and that very final team fight, we actually didn't see Big Koro going down to Impact, because I think if you look at the minimap, you will see Impact engage. The moment Team Liquid are like, we're being jumped on, I realize now actually Big Koro's TP was interrupted by Impact as well.
And he burnt and exhausted and Ignite there to pick up the 1v1 kill. That's a good use of the spellbook.
And at Double Lift, and this is why so many teams have respect banned the Tahm as well, because when you give the Varus and the Tahm over to this Team Liquid duo, they just become impossible to kill.
And when you look at these stats and you think about the context of the game, this is what it looks like when a main region plays an emerging region. Team Liquid stepping into the moniker that honestly North American fans and Western fans, myself included, have been wanting to see. They played to their style, they played to their players' strengths, And honestly, it was a shutout against PVB.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't. I mean, when you're getting, 2 assists for every kill, especially given the fact that that wasn't necessarily a team fight heavy game, that just shows that they were able to get multiple members to the play, that they were able to play that proactive style and, just continue to heap praise on a lineup that after yesterday, I was nearly ready to count down and out after seeing the players' emotional response to how they were losing the game.
Now, what does this Team Liquid that they just showed us do against IG later today? It's game 5. We will be seeing IG against you next, right? But like,
Yep.
do you know what I mean? It's a big step up, right? But this is the cleanest, best game I've seen from TL yet.
Yeah, and I think that if you are Team Liquid, your best strategy is to just go back to what you have been doing.
Yep.
Like, it's clearly a strategy that they know how to execute upon. Forget the flex picks. Forget trying to just play through what is the current meta. Just stick to what got you here in the first place and just look to punish mistakes. And the reality is, Invictus Gaming do make mistakes.
Fair
It is
few of them.
not-
Yeah. Fair
right?
few of
And
them.
let's not forget that the reason why Doublelift was even relevant in the last game was because of the number of mistakes that they punished. And if they can just get through the first 10 minutes without dying, then it is a real opportunity, or possibility rather, that Team Liquid can find an upset win.
And I think the way they do that is unlock Jensen a little bit. He's against Rookie. You're not going to win the laning phase by just sitting there 1v1ing, trying to outplay him. So do what you did this game. Get the early cleanse away. Try and get Jensen out of the lane, unlock him on the map, and visit the side lanes, because I really do feel like at the moment, the teams that are doing better than Team Liquid is when Jensen just gets tied down. 1v1ing Faker, 1v1ing Caps, 1v1ing Rookie. That's not your strength. Get him out on the map.
Well, hold that thought. We'll see what form Rookie's in just a moment, and then we'll see what Jensen can do against him later. For now, we got Shuck standing by with an interview with the victorious bot laner. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Trevor. I'm here with Doublelift after Team Liquid, I would say, clinically took out Phong Buffalo. You have now played them 5 times over the course of the last week. Did that make it easier to go into, even though it was a high-pressure game?
Every time we play them, it's like we think that they're going to try to up the aggression or do something crazy. So I wouldn't say it's easy, since like that team has a really high ceiling, but I think their variance between their best and worst games is probably the biggest at the tournament.
You guys needed the win to bounce back. It hasn't been the best couple of last games for Team Liquid. Now, there's obviously, as always, a lot of speculation from the outside, but how would you say the mental state of the team is and how everything is going?
Well, I think, yesterday we were really frustrated after day 3 because we lost so badly against SKT and Flash Wolves. But after day 2, when we were 2-2, we were totally fine and our spirits were still really high. But after day 3, I think we needed to have like some heart-to-heart conversations about what's going wrong and just like some of the underlying issues with what we're doing. So, I mean, I think our team spirits are still really high, but we have, we've been losing due to some issues with like commitment to fights and just, I'm not really sure what it is. Like, we have a lot of veterans, so I wouldn't say it's nerves, but I think our issues really just stem from indecision, like hesitation, and just that 1 second of hesitation can lose you the whole game. So we were really just talking about how we want to play our game, and that's our goal for the rest of the group stage.
Yeah, that sounds like a good read on what kind of the meta has done to this tournament. It is about those split-second decisions. You've been in this situation a couple of times with other configurations of teams. How would you compare it to that? And what did you kind of learn from those situations to make sure that you can put it all in all in those next games?
I think our team right now in its current state has a really high ceiling, and the reason why I think that is just because we have really good practice and we do really well against pretty much every team. But the issues on stage, like I said, they just stem from hesitation, which, I mean, every roster I've been on kind of has that issue, and I hope I'm not a part of the problem, but maybe some of the things that I'm doing are. So we're just like really working on, that thing. Like when you watch a really beautiful game, a really beautifully executed game, there is none of that. Like, people just go in and the whole team is backing that person up. So that's kind of our team's mentality, and we're trying to reinforce that.
It sounds like you know what to do. And now the reality of the situation is you still have a very big chance of qualifying for the next round or even getting the tiebreaker for it. However, the competitors are IG, SKT, and G2 up next. Can I get kind of your final thoughts about those 3 games and your chances of qualifying?
Well, on any day, I think we can beat any team. And we can also lose to any team. That's why Phong Buffalo can like stomp games against G2, and IG can go 15 minutes against SKT. And those sorts of things just happen. So I think we can win against any team. And also, Faker, I was talking to him earlier today, and he said he wanted to meet me in the finals. So I'll meet him in the finals.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. If that's not a promise, I don't know what is. Thank you very much, Doublelift. Very insightful interview. Good luck in the rest of your matches. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is G2 versus IG, so stick around.